Now we're going to listen to another song. We're going to listen to Esteban Jordan, the Jimi Hendrix of the accordion. And we're going to listen to his version of a very famous song over there, I mean in Mexico, whose name is Mucho Corazón. Aquí estamos de regreso en Tan Cerca, Tan Lejos. Déjenme recordarles que estamos en la semana de recaudación de fondos de aquí de WMUA. Si usted quiere hacer una donación, es deducible de impuestos. Pueden hablar al 413-577-3000. Déjeme cambiar al inglés. All right, José Ángel, before finishing this discussion we have been having today, thanks again for coming to this show. I would like to ask you. You just at the very beginning of the discussion you mentioned to us that the original title was a different one, and the editor changed the title. So right. I would like to know what was the original title and why was it changed?
Well, the original title was called México Perdido, a history. No, México Perdido, Mexican-American colonization during the 19th century. Now, I should point out that the original title I really wanted and that I'm glad wasn't adopted because it was so long, was actually the title of my dissertation, partly, which was El México Perdido, El México Olvidado, y El México de Afuera, a historiography of, Mexican-American colonization, etc. And I think the question here is, why El México Perdido, El México Olvidado, y El México de Afuera? These are in fact, Leo, these are in fact not my terms. These are not terms that I invented or that I applied. They are in fact terms that were employed by Mexican-American and Mexican intellectuals to describe the Mexican-American population in the U.S. So the reason I was playing with that title was because the policies, in other words, this relationship I was telling you about earlier, this relationship between the state and its diaspora evolved over time into one that went from a México Perdido, this Mexico that was lost after the Mexican-American War, and then it transferred or became, in the 1860s till about the 1870s, until Porfirio Díaz comes into power, it becomes, as it were, a México Olvidado, right? The Mexican state seems to forget about this population in the U.S. When Porfirio Díaz comes into power, he passes, or at least depending on how you interpret it, passes the 1883 Land and Colonization Law, which begins to invite and entice Mexicans to return to the homeland, giving them the most preferential treatment in the law. And it's at that period that I think it becomes a México de Afuera, right? And of course, the term México de Afuera was not used under the Porfiriato. That term was coined by José Vasconcelos in 1929 when he earned yet another distinction of becoming the first Mexican presidential candidate to campaign on the U.S. side of the border in Mexican communities. So José Vasconcelos coined this term, El México de Afuera. And of course, the reason why the Mexican government today, I would argue, continues to use this discourse of a México de Afuera is because of the, depending on who you speak to, the $16 to $20 billion in remittances that are being returned to Mexico. Those remittances have lowered. They've been tapered off since then. But according to some estimates, that those remittances have lowered the poverty level of Mexico by 15%. They have in some years actually become the second and third largest source of revenue for Mexico. So of course, it makes sense that the Mexican government would continue to refer to this population as a México de Afuera, and it has 20 billion reasons why it's calling it a México de Afuera.
Let me translate that into Spanish. Bueno, entonces le pregunté a José Ángel que cuál fue la razón, cuál fue el título original y por qué cambió, ¿no? Y entonces él me comentaba que el título que él hubiera querido y que le gustó que no se haya adoptado, porque era el título de su tesis y está largo, era El México Perdido, El México Olvidado y El México de Afuera, una historiografía de la colonización mexicoamericana, etc. Y él decía que esos tres términos son interesantes y no son términos que los haya acuñado, sino son términos que se han venido usando en la historiografía y que muestran la evolución de estos mexicanos y de esta parte del país que se, bueno, entre comillas, perdió después de la guerra mexicoamericana. Primero se le llamó el México Perdido, después el México Olvidado y después el México de Afuera. Y él mencionaba que el término del México de Afuera fue acuñado por José Vasconcelos, que fue el primer candidato presidencial que hizo campaña acá en este lado de la frontera, y él acuñó ese término, el México de afuera. Y por supuesto la razón es, bueno, la increíble cantidad de dinero que mandan los que están allá, ¿no? Y se calcula que, por ejemplo, el 50%, la pobreza se ha reducido en 50%.
15, perdón.
En 15%. Sí. Por esas remesas que se envían, y esas remesas han sido el segundo y el tercero fuente de ingreso más largo, más grande del país. Bueno, mira, José Ángel, vamos a escuchar otra canción, y regresando a la canción, nos invitas a la plática que vas a tener.
Claro que sí.
¿Viene? ¿Cuál canción quieres que escuchemos
pues,
ahora?
Ya que estamos en Jordán, para que oigan un poco la gente aquí de la región, que les gusta mucho la salsa, creo que esta sería una buena canción. Otra de Esteban Jordán, que es una versión del famosísimo... La famosísima canción de Tito Puente, Ran Can Can.
Muy bien. Entonces vamos a escuchar. Let's listen to Esteban Jordán, the Jimi Hendrix of the accordion, and this is a version of Tito Puente's song, Ran Can Can.
After a tragic incident, I was forced from a life of riches in Mexico to a life of poverty in the United States. My mother has become ill and we have become separated from our family. Now I must work for both of us to try to bring the rest of our family together. My name is Esperanza and I am trying to survive. Explore new world. Read my story in the novel Esperanza Rising by Pam Muñoz Ryan. For other great book ideas, visit your local